let's talk about GeOres. That is what we're going to be setting up today, which was those like insane things you guys saw. GeOres are basically like budding blocks for ores, kind of like how we'd have amethyst. And when they grow these clusters and you harvest them, you get the shards. And you can craft the shards into, like, they're a little bit different. So the coal one, for example, you can just use it as if it was a piece of coal. So like you can use it in those recipes. You can use it as fuel, just put it inside of a furnace. That will work. So the coal one you don't need to do much with. But other ones like emeralds, when you smelt it, you get the gem version of it. Same thing with like the copper one. You smelt the copper one, you get copper ingots. There are, which other one? Oh, the ancient debris one. This one you have to craft them, 9 of them to get 1 piece of ancient debris. So that's how the craft for this one works. But for the most part, it's basically just smelting them inside of a furnace to get the silver, the ingot or the gem form of it. So that's what we're going to be setting up today. The only thing is, if you take a look at the crafting recipes for these, almost all of them require the productive metalworks foundry in order to craft it. So we're going to have to set that up first. I think the only one that doesn't follow that crafting recipe pattern thing is the uraninite one, which is done in ender crafting, and we can worry about this later. Alright, so let's take a look at the productive metalworks mod. If you guys remember Tinker's construct, this was kind of like the smeltery from there with a couple of small differences, but that's what we need to set up. And the black ones are the base versions that you craft, and then all the other colored ones require dyes. So if you're trying to figure out which one it is, that's like the original craft, because every one of them you look at, it's like the same thing with a piece of dye. Look at the black ones. So it requires these fire bricks in order to make all of the pieces. And these fire bricks are fire clay, which is just clay and sand together. Super easy. Let me make a bunch of these and smelt them down. Actually, for smelt, I'm gonna remove these furnaces. And now that we have the resources, I can upgrade one of them all the way up to all the modium. We just have to craft these. I think the only one that doesn't follow that crafting recipe pattern thing is the uraninite one, which is done in ender crafting, and we can worry about this later. Alright, so let's take a look at the productive metalworks mod. If you guys remember Tinker's construct, this was kind of like the smeltery from there with a couple of small differences, but that's what we need to set up. And the black ones are the base versions that you craft, and then all the other colored ones require dyes. So if you're trying to figure out which one it is, that's like the original craft, because every one of them you look at, it's like the same thing with a piece of dye. Look at the black ones. So it requires these fire bricks in order to make all of the pieces. And these fire bricks are fire clay, which is just clay and sand together. Super easy. Let me make a bunch of these and smelt them down. Actually, for smelt, I'm gonna remove these furnaces. And now that we have the resources, I can upgrade one of them all the way up to all the modium. We just have to craft these nuggets. If this is happening to you as well, like when I'm crafting, you can see it ends like as if it ran out of nuggets, but I actually have more nuggets. The reason why it's doing that is because I don't have enough energy inside of my system, because I don't have a controller or anything, I just have the energy acceptor. So it's running out of power and it's losing those things. You can add an energy cell to the network and it'll improve that situation. So once I make some fluids and stuff, we can fix this later on in the episode too. But in case you were wondering why that happens, it's because of that. But now it's not happening for some reason. Alright. Aluminium furnace. We don't have vibranium yet, so I'll just stick with that. And I'm going to put this guy right on top of the storage controller. And on the side, we can put one of these gates to power it, along with a factory augment. I'll turn on auto split. And we do want a barrel. And we can put this barrel on top of the furnace. And then turn this guy input from the top, output to the bottom, and make sure both of these auto ejects and inputs are on. And now, if we take that fire clay, we'll make a bunch of these guys. I don't think I actually need this many, but I can just put these in the barrel and they'll get automatically smelted and put into our system. Alright, so this is kind of the area I had picked out to build this guy. Let's leave one block on the sides, and I'm actually going to open this up and kind of offset it towards the back. This has to be, it's a rectangular shape, but it doesn't have to be square. So, alright, with the fire bricks, we can make a couple stacks of these guys, and I'm just going to put that in the room. And I guess bump out one more. So this is going to be a 3x5, and I'm going to move this down a few blocks, like let's say 4 blocks down. In the bottom of these foundry, you know, in the Tinker's Contrast one, it was just the bricks themselves, but it's a little bit different for this one. You actually need one of these coils, and the liquid heating coil is the one that does lava, which is what we're going to be using. There's the powered heating coil that you can, instead of using lava, you can use like RF, like energy, to power it. But that will require the capacitor, and to make the capacitor, you need the foundry. So you at least have to set up a normal foundry before you can power it with electricity or power. But we're just going to leave it as lava. And then there's the high-powered one that requires soul lava, and there's actually currently no way to get soul lava that I know of in this game. I think that's going to be added in a future update. This pack is still pretty early, and things will change as we play. But anyways, let's make 15 of these guys, the liquid ones that we can put down at the base layer. And now we need a controller. We need a drain, we need a basin, and we also need these taps. So the controller will go over here. I will put the basin right over here. The drain goes above the basin, and then the tap goes on the drain. So things will flow out of the drain into the tap, down into the basin. All right, and then we need the tank. That's where we're going to be putting lava. So here we have the foundry tank, and where we had the quantum entangler from the previous episode, I believe it was. Oops. I can actually hide this under here. So like this block, for example, I can put the tank over here and then put our quantum entangler against it. Under the fluids tab, where the back is, where the foundry tank is, we're going to have it on output and then auto eject on. And I like to turn off all the other stuff. That doesn't really matter. So now this, you can see kind of in the back, right there, you see the red. So the tank is actually full of lava because we have infinite lava attached to the other end of our quantum entangler, and this is automatically pushing it into the foundry. So that is all we're going to need for now. I'm just going to build this up just a little more. And you can see it turned on because it just registered. And you want to be careful not to get in there, because if you touch these things, you're going to start taking damage and get some of your meat in there. So we got a nugget of meat. If that happens, you can just break the controller and put it back down and lose everything that was inside of it. Alright, I think, I don't know, one more layer. This is much bigger than we actually need it, but it's fine. We'll leave it like this. So now we are ready to make those GeOres, and you can see we need a 1x compressed block of sand that goes inside of the foundry, and then you put in 900 millibuckets of whatever the molten thing is. So let's check this one. So we need sand. All right, so here is some sand. We're gonna turn into the 1x versions. So you can put that inside the the basin. And the coal one, so it requires 900 millibuckets of carbon, right? Molten carbon. And if you ignore this weird artifacting, there you go. If you put a block of coal, it'll give you 900 millibuckets. So one block of the thing is what you need in order to make the GeOre. And if you put a single piece of coal, you get 100. So the math is equal, either one block or 9 of those. Let me show you, if we put nine pieces of coal versus a coal block, you can see the smaller coal smelts much faster than the block one does. You see how slow this is? So that's why if you can make your foundry a bit bigger, then it's going to allow you to have more of these slots available, and it'll smelt things much faster because you can basically do it 9 times as fast, I think, versus trying to do a block at a time. So that's why we're not going to waste our time with the blocks. We'll just use, what do you call it? The ingots. Now we have 900 millibuckets of carbon in here, and you can just right click on the tap, and that's going to pour over the sand, and that's it. That'll turn into the GeOre. Ta-da! And now, something to note. Everything that is like a gem, I guess, like coal, diamond, emeralds, those things, when you smelt inside of the foundry, it gives you 100 millibuckets. So you need 9 of those to get the 900 for the geode. But something like copper, for example, right? You still need 900 millibuckets of copper, but when you take a look at a copper ingot, you can see it only gives you 90 millibuckets instead of the 100. So anything that's in ingot form, you're going to need 10 of, and anything that's in gem form, I guess, like a diamond or emerald, you're going to need only 9 of those guys. If you craft it in exact amounts, you won't have any extra things left over inside of your foundry. Now, I want to set up a little automation with this, with using Super Factory Manager. I think it'll be nice to have that, so then we can just dump everything inside of a barrel and then walk away and come back and have it finished. The only problem is if we smelt multiple things at a time, we are going to run the risk of them alloying inside of the foundry. So something like, I don't know what's an alloy, bronze, for example, right? So you can see molten bronze is mixing copper and tin. So if we have copper and tin in the foundry at the same time, it's going to mix into bronze, and then that's going to mess everything up because there's no bronze GeOre or whatever, and all the values are going to get messed up. So we don't want our foundry to alloy things. There is an upgrade, this guy, the stability upgrade. As you can see, it disables fluid alloy in the foundry. So I want to make this, which requires the casting table. So we're going to need another thing, and another drain, and another tap. And this table I can just put, or do you want to put this on the ground also? Let's put it on the ground. So there's the table on the ground. We have another drain and another tap over there that we can cast this in. And the upgrade, stability upgrade, you might notice, in order to make this, you need honey tree. And that means we're going to have to get some bees. Now, I have a big problem. In order to spawn trees, or in order to spawn beehives or bee nests or whatever they're called in vanilla, you need to grow a tree next to some flowers. The only problem is I am in a desert biome, if you take a look at the bottom, and you don't get the beehives inside of a desert biome. So I wonder if I can fly away just a little bit to do that. Let's grab our thing and some cobblestone. And let's say I go... Actually, I can turn on... I have my mini-map turned off because I don't really need it in a skyblock. And it's nicer to just have a more immersive experience. But we can come to here in mini-map where it says enable. We'll turn it true. So you can see on the mini-map now that we are still in the desert. Now we're river, badlands, desert, all kinds of awful biomes. we found a very brief area of plains, so that's where I'm gonna do it. So now I want to build out a little area here, and obviously there's nothing to build off of, but luckily our construction stick has angel mode, so if you have the angel thing, you can place a block that. And we'll turn that off again, and we can build a little platform. Hopefully this will all be in plains. Let's grab some dirt. Oops. Put that in our hot van. And I'm gonna go back home and sleep. So it's dark. To get back to our place, I can just go search back. And back here. So now I need a sapling. How about birch? Birch works well for bee nests. I'm gonna put one in each corner. And we need some flowers. I wonder if torch flowers will work. I'm starting to think that the torch flower maybe doesn't work for this, so I'm gonna get some grass seeds and just plant that in the middle and use the watering can to spread that. And then we can use bone meal to grow some flowers. Should we get enough? Let's try one more time. Oh, we got one. Alright, so here we have a bee nest with 2 bees inside. Oh, there he goes. We're gonna need a campfire. And some shears. We put the campfire underneath so they won't be angry at us. And then we can right click. It is shears, I don't know why it's not freaking. Maybe we need to wait for more, or for it to be 5 out of 5. The fact that you need bees for smelting things is insane. I don't understand why the upgrades require. Like, I get it. It's all LJ's mods, and they're like linked together. It's all the productive stuff. But I don't know. It's just weird that the upgrades from the productive metalworks require bees, even though it has nothing to do with bees. Buddy, you're stuck. There you go. Do your thing. Give me honey. Ain't got all day. I'm trying to make GeOres. Okay, so now this thing. There we go. So you just have to wait until it's 5 out of 5. So we have honeycombs, and then we're gonna wait until it's 5 out of 5 again to use the bottles to get honey. Welcome to the joys of vanilla Minecraft. No, where are you going? Why are you over there? There's nothing over there. There's nothing anywhere. He's still going. Buddy, come back. Oh my god. This guy's done with the world. I'm gonna use my shrinking device. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, you are coming with me. Look at all these beautiful flowers. Yeah, there you go. Literally the last one I need. Come on. Do your thing. Oh, we got it. Okay. Doop. So they gave us 1 bottle. Great. I can use that immediately to turn it into 1 honey treat, or can I do this recipe? No. Alright, 1 honey treat it is. Let's grab these bees. Oh shoot. They don't look that dead yet, so I'm gonna grab them with our bottles. And maybe we can use them later. If you're wondering how I'm doing that, you can use a personal shrinking device, and then you can catch things when you change their size. You can catch them inside of glass bottles. Anyways, enough of that. Let's get back on track. We were making that stability thing. So here's our upgrade base, and then we need some molten ender, 100 millibuckets, which is just one ender pearl. So we're gonna put the ender pearl in there. It's gonna melt. We put this guy over here, and right click on the tap, and now we have this stability thing. So when we put this in now, things aren't gonna get alloyed inside of there. Nice. Okay. So we need a lever because I'm going to keep this thing on at all times. You can, if you can control these tabs with redstone signal. If I just turn it on, anything that's in there will pour out. Right. Then we want our barrel. Here's a barrel. Upgraded to the netherite tier. I'm gonna put the barrel just right next to it over here. And I'll put the Super Factory Manager controller over here. We need to connect this controller to the Super Factory Manager controller. I'll do that with just one of those inventory cables. And then we can do the rest from the bottom. So here is our manager, and we can just go connect the barrel, the basin, our manager, as well as the controller. Alright, we are ready to write the code. Okay, here's our code. I think it's going to work. I haven't checked yet, but we'll see in just a second. We're going to input everything except for any item from the GeOres mod. So you guys remember how Super Factory Manager filtering goes like this? So it's resource type, separated by a colon, and then in the middle it's mod ID, and then another colon, and then item ID. And if we leave something blank, like if we're just doing sand underscore 1x, this assumes every single, or it assumes the item resource type from every single mod that's named, the item ID is sand underscore 1x. So we are inputting all the stuff from that barrel except for all the GeOres things, because the finished craft the GeOres that we make, I'm gonna put back inside of the barrel, and I don't want to pick that up to put it back in the smeltery, foundry. Because, watch, if we have this GeOres thing, you can put it in there, and then it's gonna clog up. Thanks. Anyway, so it's gonna pick up all the items, and then sand is gonna go in the barrel. So let's grab some of the sand, a stack of those, and we'll put that in there. We haven't labeled anything, so let's label the controller, the basin, and the barrel. So as soon as I do that, you can see it keeps this with one of the sands. Now I'm gonna go through, look at the GeOres mod, and pick up all of the, I'm not gonna do like topaz and that kind of stuff, I don't think I have that. Yeah, I don't have any of those gems like topaz, sapphire. So I'm not gonna do those ones, but all the other ones, I'm gonna grab either 9 if it's like a coal or a diamond or whatever, and then 10 if it's ingots. I think this is everything. So now we can just put all these guys in here, and they are going to go in the foundry, and hopefully coal will not be at the bottom. Oh, we turn on the lever, and it's going to fill these things up. So there's the platinum. And then once it's done pouring, it needs to cool down. So there you go. And then the GeOres goes in there. And then rinse and repeat. Alright, so while this is going, let's talk about how these GeOres work. They work just like your typical budding amethyst block would. So if you put it down like this, from all 6 sides, we're going to get those crystals growing that we can mine, and then it gives us the items. Well, the thing that makes these really broken in this mod pack are these tiered growth accelerators. So this boosted one, is like all the normal growth accelerators together, I think. Maybe even faster than that. I forgot. Somebody told me exactly how much it was. But that's the one we're going to make. And then the directional ones they basically force all of the crystals to grow from one side. By default, it's the top side, but you can use a wrench. You can use this wrench to change, to like have it grow from whatever side of the block that you want. And it basically forces all of those tick growths to one side of the machine. So you're not wasting any sides if you have accelerators on the other side. You can only have one of these boosted growth accelerators on each GeOre. If you have more than that, it's going to say that there's a conflict. So if you see that, that's probably why. And these are going to make it very fast. So those are going to grow. These are going to speed up the growth of the GeOres, and then we need a way to collect it, and that's why we did just dire things in the previous episode, so we can get the tools for that. So let me just go ahead and start making these so we can actually set it up. So instead of talking about it, you guys can see how it works in practice. Now you'll notice we're going to need a bunch of fluids, so let's start with that. So we got a bunch of that. We did make some crushing factories in the previous episode. I'm going to use those to turn these into the dust. And then the rest of them, that's the crystals. Alright, and then we are also going to need a bunch of these logic and these calculation processors. So let's go ahead and get some more inscribers going from applied logistics. We can just power these guys directly and grab those presses. So we'll need calculation, engineering, calculation, silicone, and logic. I'm gonna need another silicone one, so I need sky steel, silicone, and what was the other thing? The iron plates. So let's put those guys in. And these ones at the end, let's say we're gonna do the combining. So they'll take the redstone. These guys in the middle will do the silicon, which I need those service dust to smelt. So I'm gonna smelt a bunch of these up. We're actually not gonna need that many, but we'll use it eventually, so doesn't hurt. Alright, this one will be logic, which is just gold, and I'll do 2 stacks of those, and then the service I'll do another 2 stacks, and then that means we're gonna need 4 stacks of silicone and 2 more stacks of redstone. And we're just gonna put that in there, and then the calculation will get that, the silicone will get those. I didn't want to set up a Super Factory Manager thing for this. This is also really good to automate Super Factory Manager, but we'll do that when we're setting up our applied energy system. Will be good. All right, all of our processors are done. That means we can clean this up, and I'm going to set those GeOres up over here. So that means we can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on this side and 7 on that side for a 14 in total. So for those growth accelerators, we need 14 of each one. That means I need 28 of the regular ones, 14 of each of those. Now, the way you power these guys, you can only insert power from the side that has the circular pattern. These sides that look like that do not accept power. So we can only power it from the top or the bottom for these. So keep that mindful how I'm gonna use Super Factory Manager, I think, to do this. So for me, it doesn't matter because I can just define what side to push the power in, but if you're gonna be doing, what do you call it? Those cables, if you're gonna be doing applied energistics setups, then you might want to, these ones at the bottom, you might want to turn it off to the side like that. That way, when you place them, and let's break this open, you can put one of those Felix cables like this, and it's going to connect to both of them. If you had this the other way, where the blue part was pointing down, then it wouldn't connect. For example, in case you didn't believe me, so you don't, say this one doesn't connect, so you can't power it from that side, you have to turn it off to the side. It does, don't worry, it will grow. As long as it's next to the block, it's going to accelerate the things next to it. So these guys are... Let's use our Super Factory Manager cables over here. And underneath, we can, or how about in this corner, we can put an ender cell, and we can use that to power all of these machines. We will need our manager block.
Stop being bad. Stop peeing on the floor.
This.
We pee outside. We pee and poop outside.
That we can put in there.
Yeah.
And the barrel, I guess I can put over here. And this barrel, I have the stack Omega upgrade again, which will convert every single slot in here to a max-sized one. I'm going to show you this setup with the just iron things, because we need a way basically to break the GeOres, right? So let's just give these power and see what it looks like. So we're just going to be, right now, the only thing we really need to do is input power, FE from the ender cell, and put it into all the growth accelerators. So if we use our label cut, here are all those growth accelerators and these ones, and then there's the ender cell. So when I push those labels back to the manager, you can see nothing happens because we need to define a side. Now here's where it's kind of tricky. So these guys all have it on the top side. So if we do top side, it's going to power these guys, but the ones on the bottom are not going to be powered. So for my case, because I don't want to name these something different, I'm just going to flip them around. So you can see when I put these guys back in, these ones get powered also. Because now the top side is the circular thing that it's receiving power. So depending on how you're going to set it up, just keep that in mind, otherwise your things won't work. Alright, now let's grab our GeOres. And we don't have room, so I can only use 14 of them. I don't have room for everything. So we need to kind of pick and choose which ones we want. Let's just put ones down that I do want. So gold, and you can see immediately this thing grows. Look how fast that is. Iron, boom, immediate. Redstone, boom. So we're gonna do quartz also, diamond, copper, ancient debris for sure, because that one's kind of slow with the other stuff. Coal, I don't think I really need. Platinum will do, lapis will do, I guess, osmium. So we're going to put these down, you can see it on really grow for too long. How about aluminum and steel? We will be moving to another base shortly when I figure out the time when I can build it. And then we'll have kind of more of a permanent thing. So on each of these GeOres, you can only have one of these red growth accelerators. If I try to put another one, so here's another boosted growth accelerator that I'm going to power. Oh, you can see now it works for some reason. So I think if you power them separately, then it works. So that's the bug. I was trying to figure out what the bug was. There's a bug that allows you to have more boosted growth accelerators per GeOre. But if I use a Flux cable, for example, to power this one with the other one, still not getting power. Let's use an energy acceptor. Let's say I put down an energy acceptor over here and power this guy.
Did you leave food in here?
Are you gonna work? I might need a energy cell.
I didn't leave food in here.
Interesting. So for some reason now it works. I tried this earlier because I wanted to see what the bug was about, and it didn't work. But anyways, there's a bug now. I imagine it'll be fixed very soon. And the bug is that you can have multiple of these boosted growth accelerators on a single GeOre block, and which makes it ridiculously fast. You can see, you saw already how fast this was, right? So I put that down, it grows immediately. So there's really no reason to have to put more of these guys down. So I'm going to take it off, especially because I think it's going to get fixed pretty quickly in like a near future update. Alright, so those guys are all set up, and all we have to do now really is to just figure out a way that we're gonna collect these. You have a couple options when it comes to that. You can use the Annihilation planes, and these can be enchanted with fortune, or looting, no fortune, with fortune, and you can set them up. That's going to require, so if I set these up, I'm going to have to enchant
Oh my god, the dude's Sissy, stop. No, come on, Sissy. Stop getting in the trash. Good job, Dad. Oh, God.
Yes, heifer. You done what in your cup?
I was trying to sleep.
I was about to watch some TVs.